What is up, everybody? Happy Wednesday 2026. What the heck is that? We're back. It just keeps on rolling, guys. I'm just happy to be rolling down this path with y'all. I think we're going uphill. I don't think we're rolling downhill. I think we're going uphill, fellas. So welcome. It's so good to be back. It was so tough to pull me away. Wild horses, I felt like, couldn't pull me away from holiday break. And maybe you were right there with me. The football, the food, the fires. I was burning wood every day. It was amazing. Just a blast. And I'm just praying that y'all had a blast too, with your friends, with your family. I even got to see Jenna in Austin, which was beautiful. Now, Jenna brought up this cool little community of ours, and I think you all are in there, but just in case you're not in there, get the camera phones out, my friends. Here's how you get in. Exclusive deal for you. If you join now, you can go into the Hear Ye channel and see the picture of me and Jenna from Austin that I said must have been very painful for her to take with me because, I like to eat garlic a lot. That's gross. No, I didn't smell bad. I smelled fine. I smelled great, actually. Everyone told me that. Anyway, join. There's plenty of stuff going on there. It's a great place. And again, when I count my blessings over the holidays, and as Barry does his yoga behind me, I don't know if you can see that. As I count my blessings over the holidays, this is certainly at the very top of the list. So thank you. How were your holidays? And not just about the family. I want to hear about the family too. And I want to hear about who went a little too hard on the eggnog and, who decided to light the Christmas tree on fire like a couple days too early. All those kind of fun things. That's the hallmark of my holiday experience. But also, maybe you got cajoled into working. Maybe you were working. Maybe you're coming back now to a whole fat stack of things. Maybe the loading bay looked like this before the holidays, and then all of a sudden you got this, right? Everyone's returning their Ninja mixers or whatever. Maybe that's going on. So before we get into returns, something that's like grossly called returnsuary, that doesn't really work, but everyone's calling it that. So I guess we got to do it, right? AI slop, right? Before we get into that, how were your holidays from a work perspective, from a friends and family perspective? I just want to hear your voices. I know we were doing this a little bit, but I want to hear more. Robert, it's great to see you. Ben, it's great to see you. Ben, maybe you've been on set over the last couple of weeks. Who knows? Shelley, Jessica, Renuka, our good friend Emma Linane, who has the highest rated fraudcast of 2025. Y'all, her episode did a numbies. So it's great to see you. How was the holidays? I'm going to shut up and take a sip of my old water bottle right here.
I'll start. Per usual. I rang in the new year with a cold, so I'm trying really hard not to cough still. But our holidays were really, really good. I ended up being able to take off like almost that entire 2 week stretch of, Christmas and New Year's. So thankfully for us, it's a really slow time. We're kind of continuing on with the slowness. A lot of our vendors have just opened up to source our purchase orders and stuff. So everything's rolling through, and we didn't have to travel. It was super nice. And I've been binge watching The Pit, which I don't know if anyone has watched it, but I was a huge fan of ER when I was younger. And so I was, excited to start this, and having a 4.5-year-old, I don't get to watch a lot of me TV. So it was nice to kind of get back into watching an adult show for once.
We got to dig into that because I saw Matthew came off mute.
Yeah.
I'm a Grey's Anatomy kind of guy.
The Pit's strong. The Pit is
strong.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was the highlight of my time off. So just wanted to share that. Definitely would watch it if you have time. I was never a Grey's Anatomy person. I never watched that, but I did love ER as a medical drama, when I was, I guess I want to say younger, but at that point I was probably in high school when that came out. So yeah, definitely recommend it. They actually just won, Noah Wiley won, what was it? Was it a Golden Globe? What was the award?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Golden Globe for, I think he was best actor in a drama. And then I think The Pit overall won for best drama. So that was kind of exciting. But yeah, how was it? Good
If
times.
someone gets into VFib or VTech, I don't even know what those things are, but I've heard them enough on these shows to know it's a bad thing, right? So maybe I got to get into the pit to really work at that. Team House, Jared is Team House. The capers on House always got me. I could really be gross into a pivot. You know what else is a caper? Returns fraud and abuse. Like, isn't that a caper to figure out? How do we handle returns in e-commerce? But we'll get there. But Jamie, thoughts and prayers for the cold. And you know what? As your doctor, as a Derek Shepherd, if I could, if anyone catches that one, as your doctor, Derek Shepherd here at Grey's Anatomy, I think you need another week off for your coof. You've got a little bit of a coof going on. Maybe another week off to watch more Pit. So you could take that, clip this, as they say, and give that to management, because I think you earned yourself another week, my friend. It is great to see you back in action, albeit with the coof. You're handling yourself very well. Anyone else get into any sort of like wild shows or come back to a office / workplace that was an absolute kitchen nightmare? That's not a medical thing. That was in VFib. There you go. Anyone else can come back to a whole stack of problems that are now yours to inherit? I would love to hear from you. This is your place to let it off the chest, my friends. Shelley, I see you off mute. I'm thinking there's something going on.
Yeah, actually, I was able to maintain pretty well over the holidays. I worked Monday and Tuesday, both of the holiday weeks, and then took the 5-day long weekend. But it was pretty decent. The big thing we're battling right now is freight forwarders, which is always an issue, but we have a really unique situation as far as freight forwarders go, because we don't deliver our fitness units, so bike, tread, row, to freight forwarders. It says so directly on our website. We will not deliver. But we just started a new delivery process in the US where we allow what we're calling room of choice or expert assembly. So you have to pay extra to get your unit set up in your house. Or we will literally just take all of the boxes and drop them off in the room that you pick. That room has to be inside the walls of your house. It can be your garage, your basement, your attic, your bathroom, wherever you want to put it, but it has to be in the house. So we won't leave it at your doorstep. This doesn't apply to Canada, which is now the most confusing thing in the entire world, apparently, to our agents. So we've been like backtracking and trying to figure out, well, they said they could do it. And then people are like, well, they don't deliver to my part in Canada because we don't deliver everywhere in Canada. So now people are wanting to meet us at a house and load it in the back of their truck. And my answer is, no, that's never happening, not ever. And so there's friction there, but then we have this weird thing with the Tread Plus. For those of you who don't know, the Tread Plus had a bit of a recall situation. There were issues, but we have this thing called a rear guard in place, and that is the fix through the government to ensure that our safety is at par and in compliance. We are legally required to set up a Tread Plus and test the rear guard in-house, so that you have to have expert assembly. Oh Lord, that's a whole new problem, because now everybody wants to ship their Tread Plus to Mexico or Northern Canada. I don't know. Apparently there's a slew of runners in Northern Canada. And they don't want setup. I have had to pull back, I think, between the 2 weeks of Christmas and all of the sales. I was close to 40 orders that I had to stop because of freight forwarders. And because, it's fitness fraud. This is great. Yes. Healthy people wanting to commit fraud.
Steal, rob, take it. Just get it. It's free. It's yours.
Yeah, that was my Christmas holiday of work stuff. And it's really come to a head, and now we've called out where training fell apart and people were telling them, no, they can totally do this. And then I have to send the email that says, no, you can't. So that's really fun. Other than that, I'm on the cough train with you, Jamie. I woke up last Monday, so the first full week of the new year, dying. And so therefore I spent 3 days on the couch binge watching Stranger Things, and that was outstanding.
Wait, Shelley, I want to get into the fitness fraud, but we
Okay,
gotta go here real quick. Did you go all the way to the end of
all the way
Stranger
to the
Things?
end.
All right, this is a safe space. We're gonna spoil some things here. Okay? All right, everybody. So tune out right now. Shelley, give us your take because it's a contentious ending.
It was a contentious ending, but I love the way they did this. I think the way they closed it out, you're like, oh, I was crying. I was crying. I was crying, but I'm a crier. Um, not in the space of fraud, but in the space of TV, I am a crier. Um, and I loved how Mike took this is how I choose to believe what happened, and just create just enough doubt that you go, could be. And that's how I choose to address it. But I love how they gave you the root cause of where Adam got his powers. And that was really cool. Now, you didn't get the full story of it, but I think that they highlighted enough of it that made you go, oh, so it wasn't just, I was born this way.
Well, I saw Katarina come off mute. Katarina, do you feel very strongly? I always say create debate. Do you feel strongly against this, or do you agree with Shelley's assessment of the ending here? I would love to hear.
I haven't seen it yet. No time.
Oh, well, well, now you don't have to.
So this is a weird one. Did anybody watch the show Resident Alien? Okay. If you're a fan of humor that's kind of a little sideways, and if you ever watched Firefly, the lead guy from Firefly is in it. Anyway, it's hilarious. It's called Resident Alien. Highly recommend. But this is the weirdest thing. The lady who played the general in the last season of Stranger Things, I forget what her name is, the actress. She played literally the same character in Resident Alien. It is so weird.
Now, our own Hollywood's Ben Lee could probably talk to you about being typecast.
There you go, Ben Lee. She's typecasted.
Well, I love this new thing that we're taking into 2026, which is the Soucy stamp of approval. And we've got that going on now. So now forget about your For You page. Forget about whatever Netflix is putting out. You got it right here. We got Resident Alien. You got Stranger Things, as I like to say. You got Stranger Things. You got to watch that. You got The Pit. Forget about your jobs, y'all. You got some work to do here. Okay, you got some real work ahead of you. So amazing. Now, Shelley, you're not off the hot seat just yet, which is in many ways a very cool throne for you. This returns, or this kind of wacky mule fraud or freight forwarding fraud. Are the freight forwarders just these mules with their pickup trucks who are going to bring it somewhere, or are they doing some sort of funky like XXXYYYYY Fifth Street period slash Alabama? I don't think that made any sense. Did I just?
No, totally fine. It's actually legitimate addresses. We have twofold. One, we have the freight forwarders who are actually making the purchase for the end user, which is a totally fun game because they're getting through our risk assessments that way. So say you live in Mexico City and you're trying to get your product to Mexico City. We don't deliver there. We don't sell in Mexico at all. You'll deliver to a freight forwarder somewhere in Texas, Arizona, Canada, not Canada, California. And then that freight forwarder will then ship it to you. Well, they're the receiving party, so they're the shippee. But they're now becoming the billable party as well. So that way they're getting through the long things of all of the risk assessments. Oh, you're pinging off of a tower in Mexico City while making this purchase. No, not a problem. We'll take this. And then they pay them. So that's an annoying piece. And then some of them are getting smart and delivering to a resident and saying, oh, well, it's for our house. Okay, great. And then when the team gets there, they're like, oh, just leave it in the driveway in the box. Or, oh, we're actually going to move it, so we need to do this. And that the teams have been trained now, the delivery teams have been trained now. No, you don't do that. You put it back in your truck and you go back to the hub. And then you let us know it was a failed delivery attempt and why. That's more prevalent in Canada, oddly enough. They're trying to get, they're using a friend's address to deliver to. I'll make a couple exceptions here and there. Like I had somebody who owned a business in the main area of the town and we could deliver there, but where they lived was up some hills that were not happening for our trucks. And I allowed it because I proved that they owned the business. Like, all right, fine, you're good. Do what you want. But yeah, I'm not loading in the back of a van.
I mean, Jamie brings up a great point, how awkward for these delivery team members. And then I think about for you, Shelley, and your team, it's almost like being a first responder, to go back to this pit reference that we're kind of like cycling through. Like, you don't know what you're showing up to here. And I guess you're armed with like a Leatherman, maybe a box cutter, and you're like, okay, here we go. Like, let's see where they want to put this thing. Let's see if I can threaten to just walk away from here. It's got to be a little hairy.
Hey, Shelley, do y'all
Yeah.
do the signature required and photo ID snapshot when you're handing it over?
We
to
don't do the
people?
photo ID, and I really want us to. We used to when we owned our own delivery, but we now outsource through 2 different companies across North America, and they don't do it. I really want us to get back to that, but I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. However, they do a signature on delivery, and they are required to take photos of the product at delivery. So wherever the photos are, whether it's a fully set up machine or it's the boxes in the room of choice, and they are supposed to snap pictures of the serial numbers of the devices that they deliver so we can connect that.
You know, speaking of connecting, I love to connect friends. Okay. And we have a new friend here today who I think is going to be all of y'all's good friend, but Shelley especially. I think you're all in the same world here. I want to introduce the bespeckled brilliance of Rinsha. Rinsha, how are you? Welcome to the Fraudcast. Rinsha's at Lululemon. Shelley's at Peloton. Introduce yourself real quick, Rinsha.
Hello everyone. So I'm Rinsha. I'm in fraud space almost now 10 years. Been at Capital One, been at T-Mobile, and now in Lululemon. So yeah, this is me, and I am a technical senior business system analyst. So I work with business to solve the problems. Basically, you can say, and I'm the liaison. So I'm 60% technical, 40% business. And yeah, I understand fraud because I see through fraudsters.
And Rich is
I can say that.
100% smarter than me. You did that breakdown there.
I
So
know.
it's a pleasure to have you here. And I think you could probably jump into a lot of these things that we're talking about. And if anyone's got any Lululemon related issues, Rinsha is now going to answer them for you as well. So glad we're all here. Shelley, wild. And one of the things I think about with this issue is, how do we make heads or tails of this like huge moving beast of fraud and abuse, right? How do we put numbers on things? You know, Shelley is a killer in the best way possible, not like we're talking like murder shows and stuff, not like that. Like an absolute assassin. That's also bad too. An expert. There you go. That's a little safer and legal. Shelley's an absolute expert when it comes to this world, but there's far fewer Shelleys out there than there ought be, right? So how do we find like a localized source of truth about all the comings and goings and moving pieces of our operation? And as we're seeing nowadays, like one of those big deals is returns. How do I share my screen, y'all? I've been away for far too long. Resume, that does it, right? Maybe, who knows? There she is. Okay. Yeah. So as I was saying to you, you might be coming back to something like this, where your loading dock was looking all hunky-dory, and now it's post-holidays, and there's a lot more there, and there's only one expert who can all sort this out, and they're kind of just defeated. I hate this term returnuary. I loathe it. I despise it. It doesn't even really work. It doesn't roll off the tongue at all. But when you're reading these articles, it's all you see. And I guess, we're all getting browbeat into it, bullied, peer pressured into using it, and it's made its way onto the #1 podcast in America here. So I guess we're going to be, by the way, guys, you're on the #1 podcast in America. Welcome to this brave new world. I got some numbers for you though. And I want to hear from y'all if this is kind of resonating with you. Because I saw these numbers, and one of my favorite things about the returns place is you see huge numbers, right? You hear people, $900 billion in returns, $17.8 trillion, like being at a cattle auction, 3.99, 4, 4.95, 5 and 6, 6 and a sold, 6.5, 6.5. Approximately $181 billion in purchases have already been returned from the holiday season. It's a lot of Scott-ole, as we like to say in New Jersey. Jared, I don't know if you remember that one. That's a lot of Scott-ole right there. $181 billion already returned across e-commerce. And we're seeing returns spike to 10x or 10% more, not 10x. Now I'm being one of these returns people who's giving you crazy numbers, right? 10% higher returns this January than last year. And how about this? According to NRF, and they know their business, almost 20% of all sales from the holiday period are getting returned. Think about that real quick. I know we're revenue optimizers. We're not fraud fighters anymore. Rinsha, put that on your resume. You're a revenue optimizer. You're no longer a fraud fighter, my friend. I know we're all there, but we're not so close to the numbers, the bottom line, top line, big stuff. Get your President's Club, get your boop, boop, boop. But imagine if I subtracted 20% off what you had as everything your business did in 2024. That's killer. It's brutal. And now what are we going to do? Shelley gave a great story. What I love about Shelley's story was think about all the moving parts that came into it. These people have got to go out there and do the adjustment and put this thing in and make sure you don't slip off the bike and make sure that whatever, all like the fancy stuff that needs to be done in the installation. In returns, there's all that kind of work too, albeit it happens in a warehouse, but it also happens in the trucks that get sent out to do these things, all the third-party logistics, all the moving parts, right? Now, if 20% of our business all of a sudden got hit with all the moving parts, it's going to be pretty awful. And the Gordon Ramsays of the world are going to be saying like, what's the real impact there? How much is this really hurting me? Oh, why is this happening? I'm a journalist at heart, y'all. This is a hardcore journalist show. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Journalistic imperative. Bracketing seems to be like the big play. Now, I was raised by a bracketer. Hands up if your mother or father was also a bracketer. My mother was a hardcore Kohl's bracketer. Every time she'd go shopping, there'd be 10 bags coming through the house. And that next day, there'd be another 9 bags leaving, to go back to Kohl's and keep the cycle going again. 2/3 of consumers admit to it. And then you have this. And listen, if you don't want to raise your hands to this one, I get it. But this is a safe space, y'all. Impulse regret. You were talking the tick, and all of a sudden, this thing looked really cool. It's going to slice your cheese like none other. That sounds gross. It's going to make your pops. That could sound gross too. I don't know. It says it's going to do really cool stuff. And guess what? There's like a cool old filter on it. Or God forbid, it's AI generated the video you just watched. And then you get it and you're like, no way, Jose. And I wrote it goes straight back into the box, ... What do we know sometimes when you have a rotten impulse? Maybe you follow it with another rotten impulse to file a chargeback on that instead of even putting it back in the box to ship back. But that's another conversation, y'all. Finally, and this is like the somber moment, economy is what it is. It ain't so great, is it? No one's really going wild over these things. The numbers we saw over Black Friday were good, but they came with a heavy dose of and you can hear people who are way smarter than me talk about what that means, right? But maybe you did this whole shopping spree and now you're saying, well, I forgot about the liquid propane that I have shipped to the house. That's $800 a year out here on the ranch. Go fund me if you're interested. No, I've got this. #1 podcast in America. We're good. I forgot about all the bills I've got coming up in January. Maybe I've got to return Johnny's Air Force Ones or whatever. So you got a lot of these competing things going on. And then my friends in the fraud world, if that kind of boils you a little bit like Chef Ramsay, where you really get boiled? The fact that the book is out on this stuff already. This was a fun one. This was years ago. Maybe you found this one to be fun. $370,000 scammed out of Amazon by putting dirt in the box that would weigh exactly what the other stuff weighed. Smart, my friends. We are from dust, and to dust we shall return, or we can use it to make returns. That just came off the top of the head right there. Ooh, I'm cooking, baby. 2026 is back. Here you go. Statute of limitations is passed on this. I can speak about this one. When I was at the Denver Police Department, one of the big rings that I uncovered, well, I was crime scene investigator. I wasn't like Detective Vito, right? Was people selling iPads outside of a Home Depot and putting a a tile, like a literal bathroom tile in the box. They'd make the sale and they'd be like, see ya. And the next thing you know, you're holding a tile. Well, these Chinese nationals pled guilty to fake Apple device return fraud at $16 million doing the same thing. That playbook was out. Just put the tile in the box. They'll never know. It's the same kind of thing. Works brilliantly. And then I know all of you know about Bob. But if you haven't had the pleasure, there's Hemingway, James Joyce, someone argue William Faulkner, the greats. And then there's Bob. Bob's book, the book. Okay. If you haven't read Bob's book, I've got you covered. I'll shoot it your way. The book is out on all this stuff. Everyone knows how to do it. I didn't even take the time to go into TikTok and get the videos like, here's the way I got this thing for free. And it basically you like my TikTok voice? That's pretty good, right? By the way, I met the woman who did that voice. She didn't even know that her voice was going to be taken and ingested into TikTok. And there's a crazy lawsuit going on. So FYI, I've got friends in some weird places, guys. Finally, to the AI bit. Here's your product on the left, and this is your product on drugs. If you remember that commercial with the cracked egg, right? This is the product, and this is me taking a picture of it in AI and saying, make it look broken so I can get a free return. And there you go. I don't know. Is this makeup or something, right? Help me out. I just started doing the moisturizing, by the way. 2026, y'all. I just started moisturizing. Hey, how you like them apples? Okay. Yeah. Those apples you ship me, garbage, man. That's garbage. What'd you ship me? Compost? Come on. And then finally, I'm losing my voice. This is so good. Finally, the DoorDash stuff. You sent me a burger, and I've seen cattle recover quicker than some of the stuff you sent me. Like the Jeepers Creepers, look at the whip marks on it, But it wasn't like that. That's how I get my money back. All of this is enough to make a grown man cry, isn't it? Or Gordon Ramsay cry in that case. So there's so much stuff going on with your returns. But to me, when I think about fraud, okay, it don't matter whether or not it was a carrier pigeon that was doing this fraud, or it was the hottest kind of AI-driven bells and whistles thing on earth. It all boils down to being able to make heads or tails of the data. So my marching orders when it comes to how to handle your returns ecosystem, because even if it isn't fraud, they're running away with bracketing or they're running away with buyer's remorse or whatever. Your SOPs, Shelley, you're the best. I love having you on here. I love talking to you all the time. And Shelley was just talking to us about these SOPs that are very difficult to enforce cross-border, for different types of shipping methods, for different types of government regulated things. I think about this rear guard. Is that to guard my rear in case I fall down while I'm on the thing? I just need to know that, right? But your standard operating procedures are only as good as the paper they're written on, i.e., if you put some post in a Slack channel, does anyone read it? If there's something that pops up in Salesforce, can I easily just deny that? If it comes down to a customer support person, can they make that one-time courtesy move to not really do what you're saying? How do we enforce SOP with an iron fist without being completely crazy about it? That's a question for the group. I've got some ideas, but I'd love to hear how y'all think about that. Another point, CLTV reigns supreme, bar none. And guess what? I work for a provider, okay? That's my day job. At night, I'm here on the Fraudcast, okay? But no provider on earth has your CLTV, knowing how good your customers are, right? That's your special sauce. So that's really important. You're going to take different measures against someone who's an amazing lifetime buyer who has spent tens and tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars with you, more than you will with somebody who just came through the door day one. And now they're asking for the whole world. You know this. But how do we operationalize that? How do we combine the SOP with the CLTV? FYI, 143 AAF, throw all the acronyms out there. How do we combine these things to make policies that actually reflect how good our buyers are and how much money they've made us? So data-driven isn't just that thing that makes you want to hurl when you're looking at someone's resume or when you're on LinkedIn hearing somebody holler about how good they are at their job. It's the only way forward. It's the only way you can make a decision that's going to be effective in the real world, and then finally appeal to the people who are above you, who are much more entrenched in the dollars and cents and the bottom line stuff. Because if you can't show value, ROI, all these like great things, if you can't show that, then they don't care about the feels, my friends. They just care about the money. And so should you. You're a revenue optimizer in 2026. You are not a fraud analyst anymore, my friends. So, with that being said, Santa Claus brought me a shiny new toy, y'all, and I wanted to show it to you. And I got to figure out how to share my screen. So, while I share my screen in the few minutes we've got left here, which again, I'm just so happy to see y'all. What do you think about all this? I just kind of bloviated big time at you. I'm going to take a sip of water. Are you trying to tackle returns right now? Or do you have it
Yes.
tackled?
I was gonna say, do not have it tackled. It's something that last year, before we got rid of our fraud verification system when I was on maternity leave, I was like, okay, next year I'm gonna focus on returns. I know that that's an area that we can definitely improve upon. And unfortunately, this year I'm still trying to redo our fraud system. So returns is something that I want to do. I know that there's an issue there. Returns, we actually get into our Fort Collins location, which is an hour from me. So I'm like, I just want to get in there, talk to them and everything like that. But with the other work that I have, I don't even know when I'm going to be able to approach it. But I definitely know it's an issue. I definitely hear return issues through customer service and everything. So I'm wanting to get there.
Well, Jessica, you're in the right place because Shelley is currently tackling them. Shelley, how'd you go from like 0 to 60? What was that like? How'd you go from Jessica to where you are right now? And is it a process?
I found $300 worth of fraud, $300,000 worth of fraud, and somebody said, "Oh my God, can you fix this?" I went, "Yeah."
And
Now
you
you want to
did
pay
it.
attention. When there's a lot of zeros behind the dollar sign, they want to pay attention. I'm getting some of that back though, so I'm pretty excited about that. Anyway,
Hey,
it,
Shelley. Hey,
yeah.
Shelley, how did you find it though? Because like, I'll give you kind of a back if you don't have the platform in which to do the investigation,
Yeah.
then sometimes you can get tips or whatever, you can stumble across it. But just out of curiosity, like how did you come across that?
Yeah, not a problem. So we actually found it in two separate ways. So this actually dates back to Christmas of 2024, is when the initial one was found. For everybody's, this is strictly apparel related. This has nothing to do with our fitness units because they're two totally different programs, basically. And we run all of our apparel globally through Shopify. That's our platform. US based is the only one I'm talking about right now because everybody has different laws. So we found a glitch in the Shopify platform that allowed for somebody. So we do Boomi, Narvar, and Shopify are all kind of like on top of one of each other, and we deal with GXO, who is our warehouse for apparel. So there's a lot going on in there. Anyway, so we found a glitch in the system that would allow somebody to place an order and then call in, like literally call in to member services and cancel the order. And then the person, the agent, would cancel the order and put a note in Shopify that it was canceled and it would refund everything. But that message didn't downflow to Boomi and to, well, then Narvar eventually, because Narvar issues the return. So everything would ship out. And so we found a ring of people doing this that was about $175,000 worth of product that had gone missing, and never paid for, but was delivered, and we were able to prove it. That caused a whole kerfuffle because we shut their accounts down. Some of them were avid Peloton members and very upset that I was going to break their streak. Yeah, that's how upset they were. I was like, well, if you pay me $4,000, then you can unbreak your streak and we're good. So that fixed. But then when we were looking through that, so that we fixed that glitch, great. Then we started tackling the returns process. We're like, okay, well, if these people are returning things, how are we accounting for them? And we found out that in November of 2024, we had actually started itemizing all of our returns. GXO had in their internal system. Okay, great, perfect. So I returned 17 sports bras, check, check, check. refund issued. Oh, no, 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 no. Refund issued. I returned 17 sports bras. Check, 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 check. That's how that goes. Information flows nowhere. So I'm issuing a refund before we even process any of the returns. So then we started looking at our highest return rates of people, and I found one singular address out of Middle Pennsylvania who in 5.5 years had returned $275,000 worth of product. And I've got her returning maybe $7,000 of it because she'd send back almost empty packages, one item, maybe two, or empty. And I then found all of her sales. She was reselling everything on Poshmark. So that highlighted a significant concern. I found lots of others like that, and we shut all of their accounts down, and I'm monitoring all of them. Some of them got real upset and tried to change their email. Turns out I'm smarter than the average bear. And I blocked your shipping address too. Um, and so we were going through lots of different things and doing that. But in that process, it highlighted to our Shopify engineers that something needed to be fixed. So Shopify engineers and our Narvar engineer, who also is our Boomi engineer, are all building in this backend flow that says I've got like 5 or 6 parameters. If your email account is on the flagged system, it gets any return you process gets pushed to me. If your address is on the flag, then it's there. If your return amount is going to be over $500, right now we're kind of playing with that because we're not sure what the actual impact of that is going to be, then it gets pushed to a manual review, meaning it won't issue an automatic refund. And then lastly, if you are a first-time customer and returning more than 90% of your purchase, it gets flagged. So you can't get an automatic refund. So that's where we're at. I'm in the process. Tomorrow I have the test environment call where I get to test it all and then see how that goes.
This is a family podcast, but if I can say, that was an MFing masterclass right there. So jazz hands, poetry snaps, whatever you got in the tank for Shelley. Yes, let's get it all out there. This is brilliant.
Yeah.
But
thank you, Shelley.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. It was all by accident, and sometimes there are really happy accidents with lots of zeros. And when there's lots of zeros, people pay attention.
you're the Bob Ross of fraud with your happy accidents, Shelley. So
Yes, I
Oh.
love it. Oh, that is like the best compliment ever.
Well, I'm just going to end the show now because we did it. We did it. As Shelley shows us with both returns from the logistics side and from the technical side, the moving parts are daunting if you don't realize what you're about to get into. However, the one thing I hope 2025 taught you all is that that's who you are. It's not saying, well, that's your job, just do it. It's you have that capability inside you as people to bridge all of these disparate groups, the engineers, the people who are out there on the frontline shippers, all these other folks together. And you have the chutzpah, the know-how, the nous to put numbers around it, put procedures around it, and kind of quantify it in ways that others can't. You are all truly artists in this world. And I just hope that this 45 minutes of your week emboldens you to embrace that. This conversation doesn't end. It's not ending. And especially when it comes to returns, it ain't ending. I've got some toys to show you next week that Santa Claus brought me. And I love to show off the toys that Santa Claus brought me because I've been a good boy. That's gross. I'm just excited to show you a bunch of stuff next week. And I'm just so blessed that you were here this week. I'm so happy to start off 2026 this way. So I hope for all of you who are under the weather, I have here all of my supplements. I'm approaching 40 now, and this is my life. So there you go. I hope you take your zinc, maybe your quercetin, and perhaps rose hips or whatever else there is. Get to feeling better. Fix those coofs. Use this as a doctor's note when it comes out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever else fine podcasts are sold. And I hope to see y'all next week as we dive right back into the world of returns. You know where to find us on Slack. Like Jenna said, If you've got something else you want us to cover, as Shelley, I'm wearing your name out today, but as Shelley brings up, the most scandalous fraud case of 2025 was the case of the phantom urinary catheters. If we need to talk catheters next week, we will do it, my friends. So you just tell me, all right? Jamie, I see you saying yes. That's how you say yes. Okay. Jamie saying yes. You can see her head is shaking. Yes. Okay, great. Until next week, guys, have a blessed rest of the one. You're the best. Thank you for everything. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you.